Welcome to the Academic Writing Amplified podcast. On this podcast, we believe that the culture of academia needs to change radically. Women and non-binary people are revolutionizing academia within institutions that were not built for us. If you're ready to reject the culture of overwork, kick guilt and overwhelm to the curb, and amplify your voice to make a real impact on your field without breaking down or burning out, you're in the right place. With our team of experienced writing coaches as co-hosts, we'll share insights and talk to inspiring guests to bring you the practical strategies, systems, and mindset shifts you need to find time to write, publish work you love, and design your career on your terms. And it all starts with writing. Let's go. Hi, it's Kathy Mazak from Scholar's Voice, and I'm very excited to talk to you today. Today's episode is absolutely inspired by our current Navigate cohort. We had our second coaching call, and I had some really big takeaways. I'm sure that the Navigate clients did as well. And it really inspired this episode, which is about how your academic success can actually clog your publication pipeline. So we think about academics who are successful, right, as having flowing publications. But what we don't often think about is how our success in our academic careers and the choices we've made and the way that we've been conditioned to achieve success inside of academia actually causes the pipeline clog problem that so many amazing academics have. Okay, so let me break it down for you. So a lot of times we have some really negative inner messages about why we can't publish an amount of things that is like commensurate with our level of expertise and that really represents us and the impact that we can make as scholars. A lot of times we feel like we are not publishing up to our full potential, right? And it can feel really disappointing because you got things to say, right? Like you have things to say, you know you can make a change on your field. Like if you ever have gone to an academic conference, you just get mad because if people are like saying things that you know that your research would make an impact on the way they were thinking about something or that it should. It can be very frustrating. And the inner messages we can also often give ourselves about that are messages like, I'm lazy, I'm slow, I just don't have the motivation to get my publications out. Of course, we all say I don't have time, although it's easier to like put the time reason onto external factors, right? Like I'm teaching so much, or I've got so much admin work, or there's so much paperwork, I have so many students that I don't have time to get the writing done so I can get the publications out. But all of those other voices in your head that are like, I'm lazy, I'm slow, I don't know how to do this right, I must be failing, all of that really holds us back, right? And it's very upsetting. It's very frustrating, especially for most of the people who listen to my work, who are pretty high achieving, amazing scholars. So I'm going to explain why you are at this point. It's not for any of those reasons that are going on in your head. It's actually because you've been successful. Okay. So you have become a professor at a university by developing ways of working, habits of being, ways of being in the world have gotten you to this point. Many of those things are very positive. Okay, so the one I really want to talk about today is how you have become successful as an academic because you can recognize and take advantage of opportunities. Okay, so let's start with that one because I've got a couple others that I want to talk through. But let's start with you can recognize and take advantage of opportunities. You have developed this skill. You've honed this ability to see an opportunity and to act with all of your amazing brain and your energy on that opportunity and turn it into something that's been beneficial for your career. So for example, just to kick out some possible examples, when you were a PhD student, you selected your advisor and probably for many of you, part of that selection process was like, how is this advisor going to help me to position myself in the best way that I can for what I want to do with my PhD, right? So you weighed the options, you, even when you chose your program, it was like, how am I going to use this set of coursework to take advantage so that it's leveraged well into what I want to do next? And then you get the PhD, and then you start maybe a postdoc, or maybe you start as an assistant professor. If you're in the North American system, that's the title. And you start to see opportunities for projects and collaboration. Okay. And you're probably also a really great collaborator. So you're smart, you're thoughtful, you're innovative. And so people really want to collaborate with you. They're like, oh, maybe we can do something together. And because you're good at recognizing opportunities, and you're also getting this positive reinforcement of well, if I'm a good collaborator, more people will want to collaborate with me, and then I'll have more opportunities. All of that adds to more connections, more projects, being on grants, writing your own grants. All of these things are wonderful. There is nothing bad about any of this, right? Until you are so overloaded with projects that you can't make the time to write, which is what you need to do to publish on those projects. Or you're like, okay, well, I did, this project over here, so there should be a publication out of that, and a publication out of this, and a publication of that. And you're not curating what's going in your publication pipeline, because you can see, you have this very highly refined ability to use a situation, and not the negative sense of use, I'm going to use leverage, to leverage something you've done into a publication in your mind, right? Maybe it hasn't come out the pipeline, right? But leverage a collaboration or something into publications. You can see it. It's like a superpower where you can see how all of these things that you do, how every single thing that you do could become a publishable paper. And so this combination of you see an opportunity, you're good at taking advantage of opportunities, you're good at leveraging opportunities, all of that as you go through years and years of your career, it's I see it as a snowball that is rolling down a hill, picking up sticks and picking up rocks and picking up things as it rolls down. It's the longer that snowball is rolling, the more stuff is stuck to it, right? Or in it. And that is you and your career. And what happens is you have so many things, and your brain also continues to condition. You're so conditioned to find the opportunities. All of that's happening. And what happens then is you have so much on your plate, you can't get to the actual publication going out. So that's what I mean by success and your ability to engineer success for yourself inside of this, very messed up system of academia can actually backfire when it comes to your publication pipeline. That success that you've been able to achieve, those ways of being that you've developed so that you can be where you are now the ways of being that are clogging your pipeline. So what to do, right? So what do we do? Well, we don't want to lose all those wonderful abilities. We just want to start thinking about boundaries and curation to start to keep them in check. And we want to develop different strategies, not strategies that look out and see there's this I could take advantage of, and this and this and this. You can slow down and you can be much more selective in the projects you take on so that your impact on your field and your impact in your work and on the people whose work, their lives will be enhanced, or the species whose life will be enhanced, or environments, or, whatever kinds of systems you work on or with, that you'll have a bigger impact, and that change you want to see in the world will be able to happen because you are more curated in your choice of projects. And I don't just mean writing projects, I mean all projects. So see how like when you are an excellent collaborator and you recognize and can take advantage of opportunities, like that is great and also needs like some deliberate thought, attention, and refinement where you are in your career now. Okay. So this is a situation of like what got you here won't get you there. Okay. Because what got you here will get you to burnout. That unfortunately, right? Like if you continue to operate with this, like it can be like coming from a place of scarcity, right? It can be like, oh, I better take advantage of every single situation because all the possible good projects might dry up. And then I'm going to be without good collaborators, without good projects to do. That's not going to happen. It's not. We fear that it is, right? That's the scarcity mindset. But actually, you have been so good at creating an abundance of courses to give, an abundance of papers to possibly publish, an abundance of knowledge. You're creating that, and you will always be able to create that abundance. That is what has gotten you here. Now what you have to do, now the work, if you are a person who has a lot of ideas, a lot of possible publications, pipeline is blocked up, right? If all of those things are true about you, you have stuff to say. You just like don't have 5 minutes to have thoughts, let alone like a couple of hours a week, to get writing done. If that's where you are right now, then you need to start to refine those habits that got you here. So we want to say, thank you, habits that got us here, right? Like, thank you for ways of being that brought us so much success that now we have tenure track jobs or quote unquote permanent, depending on where you are in the world, permanent positions as academics. And we get to do our scholarly work for our careers. Like, wow, amazing. And now we need to create a career for ourselves that is not dependent on chasing every possible opportunity, a much more curated career. And what that's going to do is the more curated your career is, and I'll explain a little bit more what I mean about a curated career, but the more curated your career is, the more impactful it is. So basically the idea is you've got a lot of things. You want to do fewer things more impactfully. And this is exactly what we teach inside of our programs. You might be like, fewer things, but I already don't have enough publications out. Well, you will be amazed that if you have a lot of ideas, you have a lot of partially started articles, maybe you're sitting on a ton of data, and you then start to curate what you actually want to put into your pipeline. You start to curate your service. You start to curate your teaching. You start to curate your grant writing even. You'll actually publish more. That is like the kind of the whole basis of Navigate, I guess, is like when you are intentional about the projects you take on, you will choose the most impactful projects for your career. You will then be able to get impactful publications out. So again, we want to say thank you to all those habits and all those ways of being that got us to where we are. And now we want to make a change. And that change involves, putting up boundaries. Like people talk about boundaries all the time. You need to have like a criteria for setting those boundaries, a way to set them. You have to have an academic mission statement, right? Which like helps guide you to how you're going to curate. And you need to have confidence and belief that that curation is going to lead to more impact and less stress and a sustainable career. Because a career where you are taking advantage of every single opportunity that you see to the point that you can't get your publications out is not a sustainable career. Your career has to have evidence of your scholarly work. And you can do that in lots of different ways, right? Like you can do that being an excellent teacher, graduating lots of PhD students or master's students, doing community impact work. There's like tons of ways that you can find evidence for your scholarly work. The way that the system recognizes the most is peer-reviewed publication. And that's why I kind of like talk about it so much, because it is very empowering to have the number and quality of publications out in the world that truly reflects the scholar that you are, that is in line with your expertise and is indicative of the impact that your amazing brain and the way that you think about things and the research that you do, that impact can have in the world and on your field. So again, tons of ways to make impact as a scholar. If you sit with a clogged publication pipeline for years and years and years, you will feel frustrated. You'll feel like your self-confidence will be low. And that really important thing, right? Your scholar's voice, will be muted. And that's not what I want for any of you. So I think most people who listen to this podcast or follow this YouTube channel want to have those peer-reviewed publications out, even though they know that that's probably not even the most impactful thing they'll ever do, right? Right. Like the peer-reviewed publications is just part of creating the impact. And it's the part, though, that can help you to get the job you really want, keep the job you really want, and become more recognized so that your work can have a bigger influence on your field. So that is how academic success can actually clog your publication pipeline. You're too successful. You're too good at finding projects to do. Now you need to get good at moving projects all the way through your pipeline and out into the world. If you are interested in doing that with the help of professional coaching, okay, and a professional training experience, we would love to have you get on the wait list for our Navigate program. Navigate is a 12-week, we call it like a hybrid program. So it's like a flipped classroom almost. So every Monday for 12 weeks, you will get video and audio module. We give it to you both as a video inside of our learning management system, and also you can hear it as a podcast. And of course, there's little workbook pages. There's always things, there's things to do that go along with that module. That module that lesson usually is 20 to 30 minutes long and involves you doing some kind of activity during the week that will take you another 20 or 30 minutes. Then on Fridays, that's what it is right now. Whenever you're listening to this, it might be a different day, but for now, it's on Fridays. We have, a live Zoom call, and we alternate between a coaching call and a co-writing call. During the coaching calls, what we do is we find like the stickiest points of the work that we're asking you to do in the program. And we make sure that we go through those and we help you with your mindset and we coach you through those stickiest, kind of hardest parts of the work, because curating is hard. It's hard because we are so conditioned to just do everything that we resist curation. Making new choices and developing new habits and new ways of being is also hard. Navigate is a different, like our programs, and the first step is Navigate, help you navigate, right, the academic world in a really different way than you've been conditioned to do. So we break this like glorification of busy. We break this scarcity mindset where it's like, I have to take every opportunity that comes my way because the opportunities might dry up. And we really lean in to you, your practices, your ability to curate, your ability to create boundaries. And the best way to do that is with coaching. The other thing we do in the other week, so every other week is like coaching and then co-writing. We do co-writing together. And during the 12 weeks, at the same time as you're like learning about how to set up your publication pipeline, learning about how to do academic project management, writing your academic mission statement, aligning your calendar and your time with your academic mission statement, while you're learning to do all of those things, you are also working on what we call the low-hanging fruit article. The low-hanging fruit article is, that article that's been sitting in your pipeline for, it could be years. It's fine. It's a no judgment zone. An article that's been sitting around that's like, they're 50 to 80% done. And during the 12 weeks of the program, we're going to be working on a bit of that article every single week to help you push it out the door. That article becomes the use case for project management, learning how to break projects into tasks, using the tools that we give you to kind of develop writing sessions. We call them soaring sessions, where you have reinvigorated the relationship you have with your writing. Writing feels good. You repair any damage in your relationship with writing, which comes from being an academic, where our writing, when we were kids, it used to be fun, right? It used to be like poems. At some point, you got to have at least liked writing kind of to be an academic. But man, you just get pummeled about your writing the farther along you go, right? The more articles you submit, the more peer review you get. It can feel really hard, and it can make us not love our writing. So we teach a whole method for, making sure that when you sit down to write, you're in a mindset that is productive and that the writing itself feels good. So we're going to use the low-hanging fruit article or the almost done article as like a use case for that. Yeah, I think that's what I'll say about it for now. We have a wait list for Navigate. That is the way to get into our Navigate program is through the wait list. So go ahead, find the link in the show notes to get on the wait list. As soon as we open enrollment, we will email the wait list so that you can fill out an application, and that starts you down the process for enrolling in Navigate. Navigate, because we do coaching, it is a very curated space. See, curation is the theme. It's a very curated space. So there are several steps in our application process. And the first step, no obligation at all, of course, is to get on the wait list. That's how you'll know when we're opening for applications and the steps to our application process, so that you can start with our next cohort of Navigate and learn how to clear your pipeline and get that low-hanging fruit article out. All right. So thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful day. Remember that all of those things that made you successful are fantastic and wonderful. And now we can make new and different decisions. All right. Take care. Bye. Thank you so much for spending your valuable time supporting yourself and your writing by listening to this episode. If you like what you heard today, the best way to say thank you is to hop on over to Apple iTunes and write an honest review. The more reviews, the more amazing academic women and non-binary people will find this podcast. So go write one now.